the pay window very often.
And that's Taz's meal ticket right there. You know, Darby Allin and Jon Moxley have had this weird odd-fellow relationship since back from last year. They're kindred spirits in their weirdness.
And Brian Cage just pushing through all the officials, through the staff here.
Look at this. What a night here tonight. What a match that was. What a show, Jim Ross.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us here at the Fighter Fest 2 for Excalibur, Chris Jericho, Taz, our whole crew. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you
I'm covered in orange juice, Jim.
You stink.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite podcast. As always, I'm your host, All Elite Andy, joined by a couple of my guests, my co-hosts, Big Match AJ, Philip Domino, and Kira. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It was a good episode of Dynamite. It wasn't definitely wasn't bad, but wasn't everything I was expecting. AJ, what'd you think?
There were a couple matches on it I liked, and everything else kind of fell by the wayside to me.
Yeah, I have to agree. Phil, what'd you think?
I thought it was a good episode of Dynamite. There were definitely segments and situations that held it back from being a great episode of Dynamite. Yeah, it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It shouldn't be too negative of an episode, but you never know. We always find a way to pick and choose at a couple of things that drive us a little bit crazy. But before we jump into the show, anything crazy, exciting happened to you guys this week? Anything you want to talk about? I don't have a whole lot, but maybe. I mean, AJ's always writing. Phil is always working. I'm always working. Kira's always working. But you never know. Maybe we had something happen this week. No? You guys went to the beach?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Why didn't you say I was always working?
I did.
I'm always working.
I did.
Yeah, he's
You were the first one always working, brother.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a whole lot going on over here in the realm of the host of the All Elite podcast, but that's where Dynamite comes in handy. It gives us something exciting to talk about every week, something fun to do with the podcast afterwards. So we might as well just jump right into things. They started off the episode with Taz on commentary. This was a little bit different. We had him replacing Tony Schiavone. So we didn't really get any explanation on why Tony wasn't there, but we had Taz for probably half the show for a three-man team before he left to go get Brian Cage ready. So that was fine. They jumped right into Cody defending the title against Sonny Kiss. This was a pretty decent match. It wasn't the best, but I don't know. It kind of lived up to what they were going for, I guess. They're really trying to elevate Sonny into something else than maybe the lower opener level that we had looked at him as, and this did it. I mean, having a match against Cody doesn't make you an automatic main eventer or anything, but it's not like it was horrible. It delivered in its own way, and I think it helped elevate Sonny at least a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely did. I thought that too, that Sonny still was able to show really good moves and his athleticism against Cody, and he put up a good fight.
Yeah, Phil, has Sonny done that spot that you hate? I honestly can't. Like,
no,
I feel like I would.
Done it in a long time.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that's just maybe a situation where he realized, or someone was like, "Hey, maybe just tone down some of the overly sexual maneuvers," because that would bother anyone, even if it was like just in general. So, and I think that was a smart move. In general, I think that when you get to that point in wrestling, it does just become a little bit uncomfortable. So it's best to just do it this way because, again, it's easy to take Sonny more serious. You feel like they're really trying to push him as a serious character, giving him this opportunity. So he did well in it. I think AJ said there were a couple missteps.
Yeah, I mean, not even that, though. I just didn't really like this match because I couldn't care because, like, I know Cody's not going to lose the title to fucking Sonny Kiss. Like, you can't trick me. This one's not going to work, TK. So, I don't know. There was just nothing in me that, like, could give this, like, my full care. I couldn't get immersed in the match.
I know for sure you appreciated the very long Sonny Kiss entrance.
The dance was
It was very long. It was very long.
Himself,
it was just super long, man.
It was way too long.
That was long. Sonny Kiss has, for as much as I didn't like the one move he used to do, he does have a really cool moveset. He does a lot of unique things like somersaults into like kicks.
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You could be like a flamboyant, fun, different character without having to do it in a way that just is off-putting to general fans. So I think that's cool, and I think that Sonny's done a good job, or they've done a good job with how they've promoted Sonny, especially over the last month or so. Before COVID and all of that, I didn't really think much of Sonny in terms of, like, definitely not much in a positive light. We just hadn't seen too many of his matches. The ones we had seen, he'd had some rough spots in them. So it's nice to see him in a new light and maybe taken more seriously. But I do agree with AJ. I never once really believed that Sonny would win. If Sonny did win, it would have had to have been like a 5-star amazing match for me to even enjoy it. And we knew it wasn't going to be that. So I didn't have much belief in it, so I didn't really get a chance to immerse myself in this matchup. But in the chance of just looking at it from a different perspective of like, all right, how are we going to elevate this guy? I liked it for that.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that kind of confused me a little bit was the lack of Joey Janela at ringside, because we've been building this team up for a little while now. And Sonny was there last week when Janela fought Archer, but nowhere to be seen. And I do think I saw him ringside, because there was somebody sitting ringside with the Janela glasses on, but he never really got fully on the camera, so it might have just been like somebody randomly.
And even if it was him, like, what a mistake to not actually focus on him for even 20 seconds during this match at any point, to do anything.
Yeah, if we
with
could
that.
if we could show Tully Blanchard 8 million times, we could at least show Joey one time going, yeah, good job, Sonny, you know, way to go.
Yeah,
it would just build a little bit more, you know.
And
Like,
I
it
feel
adds
like
depth.
maybe they did it to like establish him as like this is his moment and like as a single star, but I mean, you don't take much away by having Joey there to support him.
No. So yeah, it was a fine match, but I definitely agree with AJ. There wasn't much in terms of guessing who was going to win this one. I was happy it went on first, so we could get that match out of the way, because it was the one that I definitely didn't have much question of who was going to win or how they would win that match. Like I had a feeling of how this would go. They gave Sonny some time. I really want to see this title. I don't know how I want to see it used, but I don't love this utilization of it. Constantly defending it against lower mid-carders. When one of them does eventually win it, that won't all of a sudden elevate them to a new status, I believe. Like, it's not going to change. If Jungle Boy or Sonny or any of these people had won the title at this point, I would just devalue the title. It wouldn't elevate them. It would just devalue the title. So it's weird. I would really like to see Cody get some legitimate defenses in against people who are actually ranked. Utilizing the rankings in this title as well would make some sense to me. Otherwise, it's just a title for anyone. Like, if I was, at this point, almost, if I am an MJF and I'm scheduled against Cody, I would deny it. I would say I don't want this match, because this title is below an MJF almost at this point. Like,
Yeah,
because
he's
of
kind of
who.
just like he's kind of just beating up on lower card guys and defending his title. Like the Archer one made sense, made the title look legitimate. Ever since then, it's Jungle Boys and Ricky Starks and people.
And even look at the tournament. Besides Cody and Archer, there weren't really many names in there. So since the beginning, the title's just been like, Cody just is overqualified almost at this point. I feel like you just are holding a title. You don't, like, you beat everyone who could possibly be in this division, if you even want to call it that, because it's literally just putting lower guys on there. It's not even like the best wrestlers, the most popular wrestlers. It's none of that. It's almost glorified job matches for Cody. Like, he's going up against some semi-name people, but at the end of the day, it's glorified job matches, which doesn't elevate these guys at all. So, I told you guys we'd get a little bit of complaining in there, and while I don't dislike this match, and I thought it was actually decent in elevating Sonny, it's hurting the title that they wanted to make different, I thought. So, I don't know. At this point, whoever wins it, I wouldn't even care. Like, if it was someone good, I would say that they're probably better than this title, and if it's someone who's not good, it's like, oh, here's a hot shot situation. So, who knows? Maybe it'll be Warhorse next week. They haven't announced who Cody will defend against next week. Social media has run wild with this Warhorse thing, so who knows? That's the only way I would be okay with it, is if it debuted someone, and then I'm not cool with Warhorse debuting to be champion, but It's a way to debut someone. Otherwise, the title means next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
After this, we get commentary does talk a little bit about the charity association with this event. I'm not going to get too into that because that is where I will actually get really negative on AEW. I'll just say that the whole charity card they tried to play is very whack and corny because the charity donation they made was like 4 months ago. And then they're bringing it like, oh, match our donation we made 4 months ago, and this show related to COVID. When we made the donation, it probably wasn't even related to COVID. So if you think I'm rambling and it makes no sense, just leave it at that because that's what it should be. After this, we get FTR taking on the Lucha Bros. This match actually went a decent amount of time. This was a fun match, but not necessarily like a home run or anything. These two teams could obviously have much better matches. But this was good. This was very good, especially for TV.
I really liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. I'm just like if there was more of a story behind it, if it was a long pay-per-view match, like these two teams could easily have a match that tears the whole show down. This probably was one of the better matches on the show, but we know what they're capable of. So
yeah, they
that's fair
counter
point.
after counter on each other, just back and forth. Never know. I didn't really know who was gonna win. I mean, I figured FGR was gonna win, but there were still times where I was like hoping Lucha Brothers would win. What were you gonna say?
I can kind of agree with that. Like there were times where I was like, I think FTR should win, and they probably will win, but I don't know for a fact that that's the route they wanted to go because I don't know what they're going to be doing with the Lucha Brothers. And so, we have a ways away before All Out, so you don't have to rush the Young Bucks thing. But it was definitely a good match, definitely solid all around. Like you said, it could have been more. It could have been like they could have tore the house down if they wanted to, and I believe that match could still happen at some point. But it just wasn't the night for it, I guess. Even though I think it really should have been. But
yeah, to be honest, like in a show like this, go ahead, Phil.
I just agree that there was definitely a little left to be desired in this match. I really, really was looking forward to it, and it was a good match. But it was one of those matches where you know that they weren't going all out because that's not the story they were trying to tell. It did go a decent amount of time, 13 minutes, but you know that this match could easily have gone 20 minutes and been super crazy. And even the finish itself wasn't really like a decisive finish. I think Dax ripped off Phoenix.
It was actually kind of like the beginning of a story almost. Like
which is super surprising finish.
Yeah.
Not only
scumbag.
Like it feels like they're going to be a heel team, but just because you don't really see that a lot in wrestling, like I guess kind of you do, but it was not something I was expecting, and I don't think I've ever seen him without his mask on, so I was like, oh shit, like that was kind of scummy.
Yeah, it was interesting that moment, and just like we said, this was a good match. They did end up telling somewhat of a story with it, so that was cool. But we just know that and that's almost the downfall to this being a TV pay-per-view type event where we're getting great matches, but it's on free TV. It's not at the pay-per-view level. They don't have all kinds of time to have a great match. So while it's a great match on paper, what we're able to deliver is actually subpar because we don't have the time or the story behind it. It's just a really, really good match. So we're not going to go all out. And when it's not something you think of leading up to a match because you're like, oh, that match is so great on paper. Like, that's so exciting. And then it happens, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I can understand. It's just a Wednesday Night Dynamite. Like, why would they go out there and give 120% to no crowd and this, that, and the third? So at that point, it does make sense, but it just feels like it's been a long time since we've had a great AEW match. You know what I mean? Probably since the pay-per-view. They've had a couple of decent ones. I'm not going to say that, but the great fun matches that we're used to. Like one of you said, this should have been the week for it. Yeah, I agree. This match should have been a 20-25 minute match. It would have been the most fun. And they could have done the same thing with the main event, kept the other matches a little bit shorter. Just give us really, really entertaining matches. And I don't know if it has something to do with the ratings. I know longer matches don't always translate to great ratings, so maybe that's a situation they look at. But I would just rather see that's what they had almost promised, and I feel like we don't get it ever on Dynamite. is those like banger matches. It's usually the same 2.5 star, 3 maybe type matches on Dynamite, and you understand it, but it's kind of just average sometimes.
You know what blew my mind that you mentioned it, they're wrestling in front of nobody. They were wrestling in front of people tonight. It was really strange how in later segments there's a huge crowd reaction, and then for these first few segments it didn't sound like there was anybody there. So I was wondering if like they choreographed it that way to make the people really energized for certain segments, and then like nobody cared about the other segments, or like legitimately nobody cared about the segments enough to make noise. But I didn't know anybody was there until later on in the show.
I'm just kind of like I appreciate the audible noise that it creates, but at the same time I'm kind of over the whole fake fans thing. And I'm probably in the minority of this, but like I'm just kind of tired of hearing chants that are what they're supposed to be chanting. It's not scripted chants, but it's you never get any of the spontaneous fun. Like the crowd was a whole part of AEW. Like we talked about it a lot early on, and we've kind of forgotten about it because they've at least put in a viable placeholder in the meantime. But now it's kind of gotten, I don't want to say it's bad or stale, but you just the chants and stuff, it's kind of like robotic almost. Or
it kind of reminds me of what you'd hear on like a video game where you have the 5 set chants and you chant them at random times during matches.
So it's just
there was like one new one today though, I thought. I guess I don't know much about. No,
there was
chants.
Definitely.
They put in the update.
Yeah, there was a new one.
They put in the chants update.
I don't know. I think you guys are being a little negative because I liked the end of it at least. I mean, the match was really exciting. I know, maybe it could have been more exciting, but it was still exciting to see the Lucha Brothers. Ray Phoenix, like whenever he gets like caught up in the ropes, he just like finds a way to like push himself back like a boomerang, like always like countering and then countering back, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And then the end though, when the Young Bucks came out, that was exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to say the match was bad by any means. It's just I wish it got a little bit more time. But it was a really good match. The post match was fun. We have Kenny coming out seemingly to make amends with FTR, bringing them a couple of beers, but they end up pouring the beers on top of Kenny's head. The Young Bucks come out, get everybody separated. But this was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the order it happened in is Young Bucks come out. The Butcher and the Blade, who we didn't even mention, they were there. They're watching.
They're around.
In their white outfits.
It didn't really make any sense. I remember when they pulled up in the car, I was like, why are they coming out in the car again? Why is this still happening?
It's FDR's truck.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
It led somewhere. Young Bucks sneak up behind Butcher and Blade, kick them, get the car keys. So they're going to make... Not only was Kenny making the peace offering, but the Young Bucks are making the peace offering. They were like, oh, cool, we're cool with the Young Bucks. Then Kenny tries to give him a beer, and they clown him so badly. What a geek. What a geek. At least this week he had a reaction to it later on. At least he, kind of stood up for himself a little bit, I guess, against the wrong person. But, like, in this moment, he looked like a loser. He was mad, whatever. We had a little pull-apart brawl. Adam Page was sitting in the back drinking whiskey, watching it on TV. He didn't care enough to go help his friends. We don't even know if he was in the building. He probably was. But it was interesting, to lead up because, sometimes good characters do bad things and it doesn't really mean anything. Like sometimes, like if a guy is fighting a character who really cheats really badly, he'll like kick him in the balls and like there's no real implications from it. But when FTR ripped off Phoenix's mask, that's really like a symbolic thing to do and like a really, really negative thing to do. And I thought they were just going to be like, oh, they just got one up on him. What a smart thing to do. And then they followed it up with another dickish move by pouring the beer all over Kenny. Mm-hmm. So it seems like we're finally getting some momentum going in the storyline where we have like a clear direction.
It's still taking so fucking long.
It is taking a long time.
Took the beer last week and poured it out. What was the point of that? And then just to go back and be like, sorry, here's another beer. What was that little feud? I don't even know.
Another note from this was they had the Busch Lights and they tried to scribble out the Busch Light logo. And it like was so bad because you could still tell.
Nobody tiny little things, huh?
That is
It was
a
funny
tiny
because
that's
they
a
had,
tiny
like, little
nitpick,
sharks
but
and
no,
didn't even do a good job taking it off.
it's what you got to do, brother. It's show business. Yeah, I don't know. It was a fun segment, but it's definitely just taking and it's not because FTR has only been involved in the company for what, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, so it's not taking that long. But it's just the whole Kenny and Hangman thing and how it's lasted so long. COVID has really drug it out. We're just waiting for something to finally give. You know, the shoe to drop, however you want to say it. Like, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. So hopefully sooner than later. After this, Taz leaves the commentary area. Chris Jericho comes out. He's got some orange juice. He's got the inner circle with him. He starts talking about ratings and how he won the ratings war and the 18 to 49 demo, and he's the demo god, and blah, 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 blah. Like, this promo killed me in terms of the whole rating shtick. But he starts talking about Orange Cassidy. Says that Orange Cassidy wants a rematch. Everybody wants to see the rematch. It's not going to happen. But then Orange Cassidy comes out and drops orange juice from the sky on the entire inner circle, and tosses Chris Jericho an Orange Cassidy towel to clean up with. So this was a comedy, fun little comedy segment to continue building this Orange Cassidy versus Jericho thing, but also just very reminiscent of something you might see on Raw or, you know.
Yeah, that was my kind of takeaway. Is like, this is very WWE. Everything about it is just like, oh, it's very.
But I guess
wacky.
how else
And
do you book the Orange Cassidy stories? You
yeah,
know?
I'm not upset about it. I'm not like going, oh, this sucks. But it's like you said, it's just very reminiscent. Like, you can't shake it. It's like, oh, I know where this belongs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was hilarious. I will watch it made like over and over every time I see. I don't know if like Ortiz planned to fall or if like it was a fake fall, but it was good, and I don't care if someone else thinks it's bad because I thought it was good, and I
Ortiz really helped the
It
segment.
was so
say,
great.
his
He just
antics.
couldn't get back up again.
All right, I liked this segment. I didn't think I was gonna like this segment when Jericho started talking about the ratings.
Yeah.
I started getting PTSD flashbacks to King Mafia, but he does it in such a way that's hokey and funny and like not even really serious. When he calls himself the demo god, like it's likable. You know, I don't want to see him come out every week and talk about the demo. That'll kill me.
Yeah.
But this was. I thought I was gonna hate this when he first started rambling about it, but then I ended up really enjoying it. Yeah, it is very WWE to have shit fall on people from the sky. I feel like they do that like at least once every 6 months.
It's also Nickelodeon too, okay? They're not the first ones to do that.
I was super concerned too with how much orange juice fell on the ring because I was like, how are they gonna wrestle in this wet ass ring now? Like,
yeah,
Ortiz falling down the side, like, but for real, like, doing all these flippy spots. Who's gonna get like hurt slipping on oranges? Orange juice, I should say.
It was just funny also that I was just noticing his blazer and I was like, ooh, that's a nice like white blazer. And that was orange.
Remember when Jimmy Jacobs wore a white blazer while blood was dripping on him? I think that was the same idea here.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, AJ, but not quite to that level for sure. This was not bad though. I don't want to sound like it was horrible just because I'm comparing it to WWE. It was still, like Phil said, pretty entertaining. The fact that Jericho says all of these things while it is annoying, that's the idea. He's like, maybe that's what a heel in 2020 actually sounds like. We just aren't used to it yet because he's talking about things that are going to work up the Twitter marks and people on social media, at least the majority of them who would be annoyed or whatever by this. So, well, it's not the best thing, and I'm not sure that it's something I would necessarily continue because it's never really fared well, especially in the world of wrestling when we're talking about ratings on TV and comparing us to the other show. WCW suffered that fate. So why bother with it? Like Phil said, it's very akin to the Voodoo-Kin Mafia thing TNA did. So hopefully it's not a long shtick, but it is good for the heel heat that Jericho's looking for, so it makes sense.
So you think they'll have a shirt for him?
Oh, absolutely. I think they've already got it ready to rock and roll. He'll be sharing it during this podcast.
If they have a shirt for Justin Roberts, they're gonna have a shirt for this.
Jericho gets a new shirt every week. He does something ridiculous. So Demo God was absolutely one. It's just gonna be like him holding the ratings. But, so it was a fine segment. I'm interested to see that we are doing Orange Cassidy and Jericho again so quickly. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like I said, the only way to really build it is to do the WWE-esque, very much entertainment side of things to build this story, because there's not, like, what is the actual story outside of Jericho refusing and people wanting it, and it almost gives a reason for the match happening again, like the network execs want it because it was a ratings hit. So it's cool. I like that little aspect of it. From here, we get Alex Marvez doing some interviews. He's interviewing Jurassic Express. Luchasaurus says what just happened was funny, but after 65 million years, a dinosaur finally has a chance to wrestle the Elite, and there's nothing funny about that. So he gets all serious. This was whatever. The segment was
whatever, man.
Yeah.
nothing too
I
crazy.
got nothing to say about this one.
Yeah. It's just it was like a Being the Elite segment, which works well for Being the Elite. Not so much for Dynamite. Like, that's my only take on this. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a horrible thing, but it would hit way better on Being the Elite. Jericho comes out, takes the spot of Taz on commentary. He's pissed off because he's covered in orange juice, but he's here to work. That was good. He does the commentary for the match versus the Elite versus the Jurassic Express. This actually went 15 minutes. I'm really not sure why. I would take time away from this match and just give it to any other match, simply for the fact of this really falls under the category of a match. You know who's gonna win. If we want to believe for a minute that the Jurassic Express is gonna win, then fine. But there's nothing in me that says this was anything more than, like we said earlier, a glorified squash match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that they wouldn't win, but Marco Stunt with that cool move almost had me thinking that they would win.
I would have almost loved that because I'm a huge Marco fan. So
yeah, because it was Jackson that if Kenny and Nick weren't in the ring or like dead on the outside, he might have had a chance. Like, he could have pinned him, I think, because Nick looked. Oh, was it Matt? It was Matt. Matt looked dead when he pinned him.
I almost wonder if they're trying to build up the whole Marco getting a big win finally thing, because they teased it a couple times in this match with that situation, him getting out of the one-winged angel, transitioning it into a roll-up. I bid on that one for just a second because that would be a really crazy moment, something really interesting to see. But yeah, there wasn't. I didn't have a lot of thought that this match, something crazy would happen from this. I mean, maybe they run a singles match between Kenny and Marco and they do something crazy there and make Kenny then lose his mind or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Lost his mind.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
God.
He attacks Marco post-match, like.
Yeah, and then he was like laughing about it. He's like sitting in the corner, like, like, what the heck?
He's the cleaner. That's what I want to say. They said that he's going back to being the cleaner. He's a bad guy now.
Oh,
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting direction this went in. Didn't expect that to happen. I actually wasn't even looking at the TV when it happened because the match ended. So I was like, well, that's it for all the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And then that happened. Didn't expect it. Interested in the direction that it's going in. Some dude on Twitter said the other day, a few weeks ago, I said, what's your shocking moment for Fyter Fest? And he was like, Kenny turns on Hangman instead. And I was like, yeah, probably not going to happen. But, it not so far-fetched anymore,
Yeah.
And it might be even a better direction because even if you turn Hangman, nobody's
people
going
are gonna love
really
him.
boo him. Nobody's
No
going to
way. No fucking
Especially
chance that you're gonna
because
get
he's
anybody.
been-
Yeah,
to hang
and
on
now
to
that
him, so
they've
Hangman.
butchered Kenny for the last 9 months, no one wants to cheer for him anyway. So
Yeah, no way.
and the Bucks are natural heels. Like, that's as much as they can play babyface, especially associated with Kenny. They're natural heels. So it does make sense for them to go in that direction. And I feel like we've had this conversation. Who would be the
We definitely
primary
did.
faces? It would be Hangman, and
Cody.
he can't win the main title though. So it's like the Nightmare Family. Like
Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy maybe, but that's only one
Darby
guy. And
Allin.
he's very limited.
Darby Allin. Your boy.
Darby Allin.
Yeah, I bet he'd cut a nasty promo.
Do the great babyface promo of 2020 from Darby fucking Allin. Yeah. I do think that it would create an interesting scenario eventually doing like a Moxley and Kenny thing. I think that it's just so weird that they have elevated other people to the main event scene at this point that Kenny not being involved just annoys me almost. The fact that this tag team thing is still kind of happening, and the fact that he's still doing these 6-mans with the Elite and stuff while still a teammate with Hangman, so essentially dragging Hangman along. Like, it's just taking too long for me. I want to see Kenny in a singles capacity. I want him in his own storyline.
Yeah.
Being able to develop himself, because he's so good, but I feel like I have to agree with Joseph in a lot of ways that they've kind of hurt Kenny's everything he had coming into this. He could still have one of the greatest matches ever with whoever they put him up against, but it's not happening. So what does it matter, you know? I wish he had a different story during COVID. I wish it was a much more like Kenny-centric show with just him having matches all the time and doing what he does. Instead, it's been something different for him. And so as a fan of Kenny, someone who wants to see that, it sucks. I'm ready for the next step, whatever that may be.
I think
Yeah.
they are pushing it forward now, it seems like, with that whole thing after beating up Marco. I noticed it last week too, that he seemed to be doing some heel kind of things. I thought that something would happen with Hangman and FTR though. They joined him in the bar, and then they didn't even have a conversation. They just
Drinking
showed him-
buddies. You don't got drinking buddies? I know y'all got drinking buddies. So, no, I mean...
I think what you're saying, Andrew, goes back to what you were saying earlier, though, too, with Kenny not having these big matches. Like, they don't have pay-per-views right now. They don't have 30-minute matches.
But he's
And,
still
like,
the guy who
Kenny's-
should be doing them, man. He did G1.
Yeah.
He did, like, if anybody
Oh,
has
yeah.
the body to go through a summer and put on great matches week after week, I'm not even talking day after
Mhm.
day. Like, so that's where it comes down to it for me. But I agree with you to an extent. I just wish that, like, Kenny's supposed to be the ace, man. Like, there's no ace. That's all I could say about AEW. There's no ace.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah,
there is no man that's the flag bearer that is you can go
It's
to and say.
supposed to be Moxley. It's
The
supposed
only
to
one I would say is Orange Cassidy, and he doesn't wrestle.
Yeah.
But
Moxley or
who?
Cody,
No,
man.
no, bro.
It's not fucking Orange Cassidy.
Who have they built
never
up and made
spoken.
into a star? Orange Cassidy. That's it. Everyone else has been
homegrown
like,
talent. Yeah, you could say, yeah, probably him.
yeah. So that's more so what I'm trying to get to. But even still, like he would be the AEW flag bearer, the guy that they've made into. So I mean, Kenny should be that. Kenny and he's not. And I get that they wanted to do it this way, and it's they're the fucking people in charge. So you can't be mad about where Kenny's at. He's the one helping make some of these decisions. But it's just like, as someone who was such a fan of him, it's almost annoying like that he's going to turn heel because we didn't get that fun babyface run that the fans of Kenny deserve. Like we've as American fans of Kenny, we've never got that run with him doing what he did in Japan as the greatest athlete, having the greatest matches, being able to appreciate that at a regular fucking time zone. So instead, we're gonna just get when he does that, he's gonna selfishly do it in the way that him and the Bucks want to do it, which is by playing bad guys because it's easier and more fun for them. And I get that. But as a fan, it's annoying because we waited so long to see this great Kenny Omega character, and instead we're going to get that but the bad guy version. So it'll still be cool.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great story. It's just
I
I'm
love
bitter
seeing
about...
Kenny go batshit crazy all the time, though, so I can't be mad at it.
I just want that run, man. That we did get it, and it's not to say like it's not like we didn't watch New Japan back then when he did get that run as like a top main event guy, but to have gone from that to this, like if this is what he was doing in WWE, we would be so dissatisfied.
Mhm.
But this is but we're supposed to pretend it's okay because it's AEW. Like that that's off to me. So
I get you.
but here's a
guess
new fan. So as a new fan, it's a whole different perspective from you, and that's why we appreciate
That's what I
having
was
you on
gonna
the
say.
show. Like it
Yeah.
creates a whole different dynamic for us as well. So it helps
And
to get
I
that
think-
perspective.
I think to your point that we would be annoyed if this was happening in WWE as opposed to AEW. I think the key reason, and you said it yourself, is in AEW they have complete and total control over their characters. In
Yeah.
in WWE we would perceive it as, oh, the management doesn't want him to be a top star, so this is what he's got to do.
For sure.
So that's what I think. That's what the difference is to me.
Yeah, I think maybe you guys have to stop comparing it to other shows because I have nothing really to compare it to. Like, I watched, like, WWE when I was, like, a kid, but, like, I don't really remember that much about it. And I don't know, I just thought this episode was pretty good. I liked it. I wasn't mad when annoyed.
And that's almost to that point. Like, Kenny was doing the shit that we love at the end of this match. Like, he was going all out. He was beating the piss out of Marco. Like, even in the match when he's finishing it off, and I've never seen him hit the One-Winged Angel so aggressively. And it's weird to say it that way because it's a movie does generally the same way, but it felt like he put more power into the way he slammed Marco. So I like it's a story that's developing for sure. But just as a fan of Kenny, I'm selfishly bummed we didn't get that face run. But you guys are right for sure. After this, we get Alex Marvez. He's backstage with Hikaru Shida, talking about if she's ready to give Nyla Rose a rematch. She says that she is, but she also says that anyone can be the next challengers because our women's division is absolute garbage. So you could just get signed tomorrow and be a challenger, and we'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, that's essentially what she said. That's essentially what reality is.
Like, looked at the camera and said, please, anyone else,
Please.
come join us. We
I
have
want more competition. No shit, right?
Kyrie, don't go to Japan.
Yeah, it's so...
She's waiting.
Waiting for a legitimate opponent. So it's interesting that they're kind of almost creating an open challenge here, but it looks like Nyla's going to be the direction they're going. We'll get more into that as we talk about the Nyla Rose segment, but not too much to write home about this. Honestly, like, Nyla getting a manager seems silly when our champion, her promos just aren't great. It's not great. She should have a manager. So. But they're giving her an opportunity to get better at cutting promos, so I can't hate on them for that. It's just, and it's obviously just a language barrier thing. It's definitely not her fault, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's my fault as a consumer that I don't feel like these are the best promos. I don't hold any grudge against her. It's just like, how can I get invested in any matchup when it's delivered in this way? So that's my biggest issue with it. But
yeah, I think they just need to put her in front of the camera more, maybe, so that she can get used to it. Because it seemed like she could be good, like, if she just was confident.
Oh,
or
for
something.
sure. It's probably it's like the same as a lot of things. Like, if she did it more, got consistent with it, she would be way more comfortable with it, way more natural with it. She probably doesn't utilize the English that she's learned a whole lot unless she absolutely has to. So she's probably not super comfortable with it. But when she does use it, she ends up being on national television. So yeah, they should probably, and I'm sure they are, like, doing more to help her become comfortable with it. So promos like this are good. We just only see them few and far in between. It's like, I feel like it's been months since we've heard her talk prior to this. So for her to get better, they either need to let her do it more or just let someone else talk for her. But she's a fine champion. She kills it in the ring. Just the promos are a little lackluster, and that's half of the show. We then get a really decent promo from Jon Moxley. He's talking about how he's been pissed and been out of shape by a bunch of different shit. He says tonight he gets to feel the adrenaline that he craves. He's going to try and rip Brian Cage's bicep again, telling him he's going to enjoy the hospital. So foreshadowing here, but smart foreshadowing. Implanting that into people's brains is a smart thing.
Yeah. Gonna rip it clean off the bone, he said.
Yeah, I'm glad he talked about it, because if he had done all this arm work in the match, it wouldn't have, it would have made sense. But there's that added element of storytelling that was really nice.
It's just depth,
decent, Yeah, decent Mox promo. It wasn't like some great thing, some memorable moment, like memorable quote or anything, but
we just always have to be moderately negative about everything. I feel like we can't just be like, yeah, it was a good promo. We have to be like, yeah, it wasn't the best
so much
promo
easier
ever.
to be negative.
I'm trying to bring the light into things.
I've definitely fallen into this category too, but it's just funny how we do it.
Well, the next segment is definitely not going to get a totally positive reaction on it.
Give some love to the Mox promos, what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was a good promo, man. It's a Mox promo.
Like you said, it helped set the tone for the story they were going to tell in the match, really, and that's important.
In a comparison to the Shida promo, compared to the Moxley promo, it's light years better.
Oh my god, dude, no shit. That's not even fair. But overall, it was a decent promo. It does a good job at setting the tone for the story they want to tell in the match. It's layers, and it's nice to have those layers added because, like you said, going into the match, yeah, commentary's talking about it and alluding to it, but they're doing that because of this promo. It makes it easier for them to allude to because of the promo and all that. So overall, the promo served its purpose. But let's jump right into the next segment, the one Phil is excited to talk about. The Nightmare Sisters going up against Kenzie Page and MJ Jenkins. Solid 3-minute match here. Brandy Rhodes showing why she's an absolute 5-star competitor in terms of people that I would rank with Kenny Omega as the top wrestlers in the entire company. Brandy's right up there. Allie, I don't know, but Brandy, she killed it, you know? I'm always on here ranting and raving about how Brandy sucks and shouldn't be on AEW TV. Nope. She's the queen. It was great. What did you think, Phil?
I didn't really find a whole lot of reasons this happened on TV.
Because she's the queen.
Like this is exactly the kind of match they had on Dark, where they beat up 2 losers, 2 people you don't care about.
I guess that's.
I was excited because they kind of like hype up on Twitter. Oh, we're gonna bring a women's tag division, and this is like, can't wait for more challengers. I thought maybe there'll be like 2 semi-established people to come in and team up, or like just something other than what I expected, and it was exactly what it was. It wasn't necessary for this for the show.
Yeah, you could have just continued this on Dark at this point if you're not going to give them viable competitors.
You had to get your women's match in, though. That's the whole thing. You had to get your women's match.
So let Nyla beat 2 people. Again.
Like
that was last week.
They allude to Britt Baker for like 2 seconds. Like, why don't they get Reba to fight? I don't get it. Like, have Reba.
She probably
fight.
Sucks. That's why she's probably garbage.
No, but Brandy's great.
Like, her started
but Brandy is an EVP, man. She doesn't have to be good.
My guess would honestly be it's probably like, yeah, she is getting better.
I've never seen old Brandy. Same Brandy.
This Brandy is actually the 5-star facetious review I gave compared to old Brandy. So
yeah, well, you're right. She used to be worse.
And I think maybe I'm trying to be positive about this. Like maybe this will be the start of tag division when we get more women.
Why bother when there's not enough women? That's where I'm at.
No, I mean, but they could still try to make it enticing looking, you know. Oh,
I just wish
a tag team. Maybe that'll influence other people too. Like how Shida was saying, anyone come join, like come fight me. Like maybe there'll be a tag team somewhere in there. And they had their own video and music. I thought that was cool. We have that's a start too, you know. Like
it was really funny to me how on Dark they actually were pretty cohesive. And they didn't argue and bicker. And the first fucking thing they do when they come out tonight on television is bicker and pose in front of each other and all that stupid shit. And it was like night and day from what they did on Dark.
I think I've noticed that Brandy is trying to be more accepting. At first she was like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. You're bad. But now I think she's trying to, you know, get to know her, or like be more of a team, because she isn't letting it get to her as much, I guess. And then Dustin, you know, still was reluctant to, but lifted her hand up when they won with Brandy. So like maybe they're just having trouble, but they'll come around to each other. I'm hopeful for it still. Or maybe it'll just start up a story anyway if they do break up. You know, something has to come out of it. I'm hopeful for it.
Yeah, I'm real.
I just wish that they didn't
storyline.
Go ahead.
But the avenues that I could go to, which is either Brandy against Allie or QT Marshall against Dustin Rhodes.
That's an interesting one.
Storyline wise,
don't even get me so excited for those two epics.
Oh my god.
You say Okada Omega, I say Brandy Allie. You say Okada Omega 2, I say Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall. Forget about Dustin.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
for the
I won up
TNT
you.
Championship.
Yep, and
Yeah,
for
that would be a
both
good
women.
Oh wow. That's progressive.
Oh, great. Anyways, yeah, I the only problem I have with Brandy at this point is they started with her being something, and then they stopped, and now they need her to be something again, so they are doing it again, and it almost feels that way, but because they're just lacking in depth, they really need something for the women's division, so they're utilizing her again because she is probably one of at least the more popular faces in the division. She's probably not the most talented, but everybody knows who she is. It's impossible not to at this point. So they're utilizing her. And it's just like, man, if only she had just been on Dark this whole time, because she almost felt like she stopped being a wrestler. When she first came back, it was like a weird... The story was that she was like not a wrestler, but she was trying to come back to be a wrestler, but then she had a bad match again. So I thought she was done. I thought it was over. And here she is being a wrestler again. It feels very out of nowhere. She hadn't been wrestling prior to this for many months at least. So that's the only thing I really have a qualm with about it. The matches or whatever, they're not going to be great. Their depth at the women's division is just so shallow. They're so screwed in this division. Like in general, like it's just a bad time. The women that they did have that were really talented are injured. And the other ones they're just not promoting. Like there's still probably 5 or 6 other women they could promote in this division that they're just not. We're not seeing them on Dark. We're not seeing them on Dynamite, especially on Dynamite. But so.
And then like, why did they suspend Big Swole? Like they could have made that into something too. But then it's like.
Oh, we had no progression in that storyline today.
None at all. Didn't even show her at all.
Yeah. So and how ridiculous for her to be suspended for longer than a week, like. It would be 2 weeks now for something
Unless
stupid.
there's like another underlying reason that we don't know. Like she has.
Did she fail the drug
COVID-19.
test? She failed the drug test. Then the policy, bro. I don't know. I don't know. The women's division needs help. It still amazes me that at one point we were just so in love with this division back when Rio was around, when there was just so much more happening with the Joshi
and
women.
all those people.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You can't blame them for it, but this is what happens when majority of your talent in one division are international talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It hurt them. Definitely didn't work out the best, but it'll pull through. Something else that didn't work out the best, this Nyla Rose segment. Phil was not in love with this.
No.
We find out who Nyla Rose's manager is going to be. She says she's not going to tell anybody who the hell it's going to be. Why would I get a manager and do the talking for myself? Fuck that. No. Vicky Guerrero makes her way out. She's got an awesome theme song. Phil loved it. Makes her way out. She's talking about how lying, cheat. She somehow includes lie, cheat, and steal, about how Nyla's going to steal every opportunity. They're not smart enough to cheat, and yada yada yada. So this was whatever.
This sucks. This was bad. It wasn't good.
Nyla doesn't need a promo though. Like that's
no, she doesn't.
She does
No, she
perfectly
doesn't.
fine on her own. That's what fucking gets me.
And Vicky Guerrero is honestly probably
step
not
down.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Her
step
promos
down.
suck. Like her
So
promo that she
like-
gave was so bad.
Well, that's her gimmick here, is that she's annoying. That's
Yeah,
that's
I
the entire
know.
character. is the
We're
annoying.
aware.
But
Well, I wasn't.
Yeah, Kira wasn't AJ, you
Oh,
dick.
Sorry, I
This is-
apologize.
what I really have an issue with is the manager thing for AEW has worked out quite a bit. They pair
Obviously, everyone who's managed has a championship.
yeah, shut up. But all the managers have been paired with somebody who isn't a good talker, and with Lance Archer and Brian Cage, it works out. It's a good pairing. This doesn't seem like a good pairing at all. I don't understand how Vicky Guerrero adds to the character of Nyla Rose. I don't see how she. When you think of good talkers, Taz does come to mind. Jake Roberts does come to mind. Vicky Guerrero just sounds awful.
You don't put her up
I
there with
know
him
it's
like
her
that's not
gimmick
your
to
Mount
be annoying.
Rushmore.
I know it's her gimmick to be annoying, but to have to hear her every week talk and promote a character, I'm not interested in it at all. It seems kind of like forced. Like they were like, hey, this manager thing has worked out in the past. Let's just do it randomly to a random character who we think needs help talking. Doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
no, I don't understand it
And
at
it
all.
seems like a super random pairing. Not like
It is.
Not like either of the other pairings were
But
totally
they kind
made
of made,
sense.
but they kind of did.
Yeah.
Like,
Like they
and
have
I guess this
chemistry
one
between
kind of
themselves.
does, but
But why if this one didn't make sense, why did people still predict that she would be the manager?
Because there were like
she's
no
been
other
involved. She's been involved with AEW a lot. Yeah, this was not it for me. We all had expected it, and then it almost ended up being a little bit worse than I expected. It's not like it was horrible, but it was still a little bit worse than I expected because I was like, oh, this could actually be good. Like, let's hear this promo, and then it was bad, and I was like, oh, fuck. Here we go again. Like, the Vicky Guerrero thing, we've done this a million times. It's way worse with no crowd because after you say excuse me once, you don't have to say it again if no one's saying anything. Like, you can just shut the fuck up and keep it pushing. But, yeah, it was just not a great promo. It's going to get heel heat, but not in the way they want. It's going to be very much X-Pac go away. Like, that's not good for Nyla. Like, Nyla's been way more entertaining by herself. And my problem with it is when she becomes champion, her run would feel probably a lot similar to whatever Brian Cage is doing at the same time because him, like, just the dominant character, destroying the beast character, destroying their opponents, it's kind of the same thing. And then when they both have a manager, they're both saying, oh, we'll destroy whoever you put in front of us. I've beaten. Like, what can you say in terms of differentiating the two? And Taz will always sound better at whatever he said. Like, I don't know. I feel like, why don't a couple of managers manage multiple people? Have we ever considered that? Like, why did Vicky have to do it?
They're teasing it with Tully, but I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on that.
They love to tease everything with Tully and Sean Spears and never pull the trigger on anything.
Yep.
So,
except for the black glove.
The black glove.
You're
They
right.
didn't show history of that yet. Was that yesterday?
Beyond Dark.
Yeah, they showed
We'll
like
get
the
to that.
history.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to Dark if you tune in every week for our Dark recap. We've got it this week. You won't be disappointed. But first, we've got to get through what they have lined up for next week. So they let us know that Cody would be defending the TNT title. Adam Page will be facing 5. Ivelisse will face Diamante. So at the very least, like, these are 2 relatively new women to the division. So that's great. MJF is in action. The Young Bucks are going to face the Butcher and the Blade in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And then we have the Jurassic Express going against Jake Hager and Chris Jericho, which will be a glorified squash match. So,
yeah. I'm not very excited about this next week.
Nope.
Nothing really to look
couple
forward
Debbie
to.
fucking Downers.
Okay, what are you looking forward to next week?
I told you, Ivelisse versus Diamante.
Yeah, Ivelisse is from Lucha Underground, right?
I want to say so. Yep, she was with Angelico and Son of Havoc at the time, I want to say. So
yeah, so she's an established name a little bit. I
think both of these characters were involved with LAX at some point too. I might be wrong, but
yeah, not a lot to look forward to next week. Adam Page versus 5 just seems insulting to me.
That sounds like a dark
awful.
match.
That's so awful.
Sounds like a
Young
dark
Bucks
main event.
versus Butcher and the Blade is probably going to be the best match, but you already know who's going to win that one.
Yep.
Jurassic Express against Hager and Jericho. I don't know what the point of giving Jurassic Express the win a few weeks ago was going to do if you're just going to beat them over and over again every single week.
That was what it was for, just to beat them. Like, remember when we used to talk about how Jungle Boy was the future and was going to be so great, and now he's just whack and trash. And
it sucks because he had a really good showing tonight, and he did a lot of really cool, different things.
You did do very well tonight, you're
they
right.
just cock tease him. They just cock tease us with him all the time. They're like, oh, we're going to push him, and then the next 4 months he just loses, and then, oh, we're going to push him.
Yeah, he'll get like one random, oh, wow, can't believe he won, because he sucks, because he just loses every week.
And I wanted to clarify, Ivelisse wasn't with LAX. She was with our boys Aces and Eights. So shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Aces and Eights. You know,
Aces and Eights DVD.
Facts. Who thought we would be able to talk about that on the All Elite podcast? But no, I'm excited to see 2 new women that I know can compete at some level on Dynamite next week. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be pretty much the only thing I'm really looking forward to. Maybe if Cody gets a good opponent for the TNT title, that'll be fun to see. But I don't have my hopes up for that. They've just devalued that title. I think we went over that for about 15 minutes to open the show. So
yep.
Otherwise on the card, yeah, I'm annoyed about the Jurassic Express thing. Young Bucks versus Butcher and the Blade. Like, who really cares? Falls Count Anywhere. I imagine Young Bucks will lose just because of some shenanigans.
Nope.
MJF will get an easy win and Adam Page will get an easy win. So yeah, nothing crazy. After this rundown, we get Taz. He's cutting a promo. He's saying that Mox implied that Brian Cage wasn't 100%. But while Mox was quarantined up with his boo, Brian Cage was wrestling and training on a regular basis. So this was a short promo, but honestly, I liked it better than the Mox one. It was almost really good, short, sweet, and really good. Like everything Taz says is always honest and true.
Yeah.
And it makes it hit so much harder. It's like, ooh, how are you going to imply that Cage isn't 100% when he's been working and you've been on your ass? Like, ooh. So that was fun. Good lead into the match. The match itself, the finish is fine, but I've seen so many AEW finishes where they're trying to protect both characters and don't just want to give us a solid end to this show. This match, honestly, it lost a little bit of hype for me throughout the week. I don't know why. I was really excited for this one when it was first announced. The build-up to it I liked. Maybe just pushing it off a week really threw it off for me, but it wasn't a bad match either. The match itself delivered pretty well. Like I said, the story was fine. They told a good story. They had foreshadowed to it. The commentary did a good job at reminding us what was going on. So you almost had to know what the finish was, the way they were laying the groundwork for it. But, yeah, I just wish Cage would have won. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I didn't like that Taz threw in the towel, but I feel like it's not that
that's
bad.
how it ended. I'm not gonna lie. Like I knew it ended in a submission, but for some reason I thought it was just a submission. The fact that you even bring up the towel throwing in, I'm mad again. Like
it was surprising to me, and like I wasn't expecting it, so that's why I liked it, because we always talk about how we're always expecting what they're gonna do, and I didn't think that's how it would hapen.
You're not wrong. I didn't expect it. I don't know if you guys really thought Taz was gonna throw in the towel. We've seen it a couple times in AEW.
No, especially after he's been all this talk and everything, and then he's like fuck it, we can't do it. Like, I don't know.
They did a good job telling the story of it too, like the commentary explaining, oh, if he got injured, he would be on the shelf for so many months again. But at that point, it just became almost too much. Like you had told us this story, foreshadowed it. Like it's just so. And yes, it's scripted, but it's like, man, way to talk about how it's scripted. Like it just feels scripted in that point. Like, oh, we talked about it earlier, we foreshadowed it. Oh my God, now it's happening. Like it's some almost movie shit. Like. And I would rather it at least have a little bit more of like toting that edge of reality or spontaneity even. It didn't have that. Like I said, you could almost, if you were listening and paying attention to the promo and everything, and I'm not saying I was, but if we would have been, you probably would have had a good idea how they were going to end this. Oh, neither man is really going to lose. Taz will throw in the towel. Like, it sucks, but it's a way to have no one actually lose. So we protect everybody.
There was a little part of me that was so frustrated with it that if Cage had started beating up Taz, even though it would have made no sense,
I would have preferred it because it's like,
it was so frustrating, and it feels like it was the time to take the title off of Moxley, because I don't know who challenges for it now. I don't know what direction they're going in, and I feel like for a long time AEW has lacked that big moment that's like, wow, can't believe I missed that, or wow, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just
up to that though, because of that. Maybe next week, like now that Darby is back, because that was crazy. I did not expect that either.
I just want to say real quick about the match. I didn't think the match was good.
I thought it was good.
Here goes negative Nancy.
They do the same gimmick in every Mox title match where Moxley has to go outside of the arena for an hour and has to do all these barricade spots and it's just like, just stay in the ring. It's a title match for a big company.
I will agree too. It's like it's hard to get behind that with no fans. With no fans, it's a lot less interesting. Those moments, the Mox going outside of the ring, like, and you're right. It's becoming a little bit redundant. And the fact that the referees don't do anything about it, there's no, it does become like weird. It's weird. Why is it lawless? Why? And then we reference it every time with commentary, like, oh, it's a playoff level. Like, does no one in the company with authority ever decide, like, hey, we should tell Mox, like, hey, you need to stay in the ring and fight your fight, bro. Like, so I do get AJ's problem with it. It does get a little bit just corny, like.
Yeah, like the first time it happened, I was like, yeah, this is okay. Then the second time, I think this is the third time, and I don't care anymore.
Yeah. So
This is just this thing. I don't know.
It kind of worked with Cage though. That's where I will say it didn't kill it for me, but I do understand what you're saying. That they are kind of it's the Mox story. He does the same thing over and over and over. At least in his title matches, in terms of the story that they try to tell there. So yeah, it's not the best. Again, I just wanted to see Cage win. I wanted a new champion. We need something refreshing in the company, something new. Cage was built up for that. It would have been a new champion. He would have been able to have potential contenders down the line. Mox could have done his own thing. They could have ran it back, done a rematch in some way. Instead, it seems like we're gonna go Cage versus Darby, which why?
What do you do with Mox?
Yeah, I imagine it'll be Mox versus Max. We're about at a point where they could build that up for 2 months, do it at the pay-per-view. But yeah, and that's the bummer. Like, we just got through the high point. We are now getting back into filler building time, where we're now building up stories, filling what we've got, filling time over the next couple months, because the next big show is the pay-per-view. That's 2 months away. That's where it's kind of a bummer with everything we've gotten from these last few shows. No real exciting new champion, no new story that was a huge blow up. So
no amazing match.
It's almost like when you watch a TV series and you want the last episode to be a great epic, oh fuck, I can't wait for the next season. But instead, the season finale we got was just oh, that's it. There's not our season finale was Darby Allin returning. Yay!
Yeah.
I was still excited. I was like, what?
It wasn't bad. I still don't, I don't hate Darby. He's an entertaining character. I want Cage to walk right through him. There's no reason this should. But that's where it bums me out. I expect Darby to get a win here over Cage, which just defeats all the momentum Cage has built up over the last month or so. That's where my issue comes into play with it.
No, I totally agree.
But
it'll be the first time.
No, it wouldn't. I wouldn't. Absolutely. They do this hot-shotting thing all the time, and it's getting really tired.
Yeah, just it would have been more fun. Cage going over Moxley's just more fun. He's a more fun champion right now. And I don't know, man. I don't want to be the guy who's always talking about, or don't want to get us to a point where we're always talking about ratings. But I don't think this is gonna do a great number off of a title change. The title change is the exciting thing. Yeah. This was the lack of that. Instead, all we got was Darby Allin returning after a month and a half where he really lost probably 70% of his steam.
Yeah. And so if they did win the ratings this week, they didn't really give people a reason to tune in next week.
No. So
I'm excited.
But they'll win the demo.
And we warned you guys at the beginning of the show we would find things to be negative about. I've just had such high hopes for this Cage versus Moxley thing. I think probably since it was announced, I wanted or thought Cage was going to win. So for me to come up almost, I don't want to say I'm mad because I'm wrong, but maybe that's what it is. I just thought it would be so much better with Cage as champion right now. This would just be a much more exciting show. Everyone they've introduced in the last 3 to 6 months has done nothing. The Brian Cages, the Lance Archers, that guy whose name I can't remember that fought Cody for the TNT title that you guys were talking about, Ricky Starks. There's so many new faces we've gotten that they just haven't done anything with. Not a bad show though, but again, it was just almost a lackluster season finale. It was still a season finale, so there was still good stuff. Or a season finale. Obviously, AEW's not over. But to me, that's what I'll consider this, because it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was just a big show on TV. So this is our season finale of AEW, and next week they'll restart pushing towards the next segment of stuff, which, like I said, I imagine will be Mox versus Max, Cage versus Darby, among other stuff. But that all just doesn't do it for me. I do not care about and the fact that Moxley versus MJF could create really, really, really good promos. The match itself does nothing for me, absolutely nothing. So
No, I agree with that.
That wraps up Dynamite. We do have to talk about Dark. This is when things get much more exciting because if you don't expect us to be negative about Dark, you're a fucking idiot because Dark is never that great. It's our jobber show. It has its moments. That's what we have Phil and Kira here for. They tell us our must-see moments of AEW Dark, but it's not a show that I could spend too much time watching because it's just I'm just too good for that. No. It's just it's very filler entertainment to me. I don't know, man. Maybe you guys will prove me wrong. One week something will happen that will be unexpected.
It's usually bad, but I think I wanted to watch it because I was excited about. I was curious about the Nightmare Sisters and about the FTW Championship title. I knew that Cage would win, but I just.
Man, what if he lost that to Brian Pillman Jr.? That would be fucking epic.
Some people in the poll thought that he would win. I don't know why, but maybe they just thought it would be some weird, unexpected thing that AEW might do, but they were wrong.
How do you push Brian Cage going into his Moxley match? Have him lose to Pillman Jr.?
So, the first match was Rache Chanel and Diamante against the Nightmare Sisters. First appearance for the Nightmare Sisters since they got a team name. Diamante, I didn't even know she was going to be on next week's Dynamite, but she looked cool here. She had a personality. A lot of the things that happens with these, like, jobber people, they come out, they do their little pose, they hit a few moves, they lose. She actually was like fiery, feisty. She wanted to fight. She got held back by the referee. She was cool. Rache Chanel, garbage. Absolutely garbage. Her gimmick was, her last name is Chanel, so she comes out with the Chanel bag, and she shows off the bag, and she sucked.
That gimmick literally only works if she has the song Chanel as her theme song. But you all don't know that, so.
So what'd you think about this?
All I have to say is that I thought that today we would see the Nightmare Sisters be even more closer.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe in a sense they were, but they had fist bumps. You know, they looked like they were more civil than they were today. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it was, again, like I said earlier.
Guys, past your minute for this match. We got to go to the next one.
So I thought Robert Anthony against
Ricky Starks.
That was a good match. Robert Anthony lost, but it was really good. It was exciting.
Robert Anthony is pretty good for a loser. Ricky Starks looked good here. He got a good offense in. He actually got busted open a little bit at one point, which is kind of cool. He comes over. He fist bumps Taz. Excalibur goes for a fist bump. He doesn't care about Excalibur because he's a bad guy. He does a stupid little pose where he goes, and
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, then
that's all we
they cut
to
to the Sean Spears thing, and they show all this like old wrestlers who use the glove, like giving it credit or something. Like no one cares.
Nobody cares about it. He didn't have a match on Dark, so I don't know why we had to see this.
That's great.
Then we saw
Dark Order.
The Dark Order,
against
Beaver Boys, and number 5 fought Sean Dean, Will Hobbs, and Joe Alonzo. If you lose to the Dark Order jobbers, you should quit right now, the next day.
That's why I can't take this show serious. It's just like jobbers getting wins, too.
It was the guy that got pinned, Joe Alonzo, he was the one that I knew would get pinned.
Fuck him. I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs is a legitimate, actual future guy.
Yes, he was
very good. He is a big boy. He's got a very, very interesting build. He's huge. He hit a lot of cool moves. He did a lot of cool shit. Of course, he doesn't win. The Dark Order guys.
He's the guy. I think he's the guy who jobbed Orange Cassidy
he lost to Orange Cassidy.
Legit 45 seconds. What a scrub.
The Dark Order guys. This was a nothing match, but then they started hitting crazy shit out of nowhere. It actually wasn't that bad. It was probably the most entertaining thing on the show. I also didn't know who was going to win because none of these people should win except for Will Hobbs. He should win all the time.
Okay, Marco versus Nakazawa.
Oh, God.
I, for some reason, knew that Marco was going to win. I don't know why, but Marco won, and I wasn't surprised. I don't really like Nakazawa.
Nakazawa pulls his thong out.
Oil, and he's like...
He pulls out his thong. Kira's friend was here. She stopped watching Dark after a while. I said it was disappointing how she wouldn't see the spot where Nakazawa has his thong out and he's going for the mandible claw, and he gets it stuck on his own face.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh,
great.
man.
And
It's
Mark
disappointing
Wahlberg
that
again.
you felt like that's a must-see moment, I guess, but I didn't need
Yeah.
it.
When he walked away, he went like Marco went like this. Like
These are not must-see moments at all.
Must-see moments.
Yeah, we're kind of.
No, we're going through the whole
It's
It's
thing.
dark,
There's
brother.
7 matches.
There's no
gonna
must-see.
listen to
Luther
them all.
and
Five,
Super
four.
and Luther versus Pineapple Pete
Okay.
and Brady.
Brady Pierce, who's very handsome. Nobody
Isn't
in
that
this
Cass's
fucking match
friend?
has any wins except for Luther. So who could care who wins? Serpentico did a cool thing where he shot fucking
Serpenetico?
Like
whatever,
white-
man.
it
He
was like-
shot
It was
streamers.
like white confetti string ribbon,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
They
and
looked
then
okay.
Luther started to eat it.
Dude, I
was
liked it. I
weird.
liked it. They looked like a cool team at first. Then Luther started wrestling, and I remembered that he's a pile of fucking shit. He
Jeez,
sucks so fucking
rude.
badly.
Then we have Jurassic Express versus Cutler and the
Why were there
Librarian.
so many bad matches?
Because it's dark. Okay, this
For
is
some
this is a
reason-
co-main event,
For
brother.
some reason, the Young Bucks came to visit, to
Yeah.
watch Cutler
Yeah, they were
and
ringside.
Librarian. They thought that they would win against the Jurassic
I guess.
Express. I don't know why.
It
Rude
makes
to the
sense.
Jurassic
Those
Express.
teams are losers.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
geeks.
They do have a storyline going
Yo,
here. They,
remember when the
You're wasting time. You're wasting time
It's
on
40
Librarian.
seconds.
He
It's
like,
okay.
actually like
Who
got
cares?
interfered and like
yeah,
fucked up.
she lost her
Jungle
shoes or
Boy.
glasses or
No,
something.
she like flipped him over. You like missed it.
Oh.
or
I
I
can't
something.
believe
Yeah,
they're
because
4 and 2.
fell
Can
asleep
you
during
believe
this.
they're
Like,
4 and
wrestled
2?
somebody.
I legitimately fell asleep during this, but they did tell a story during this. They're telling a story with a storyline. Cutler and Avalon, they suck so bad. No wins between them. But every week they get a little better as a tag team, and it really showed this week. They hit like dynamic, cool tag moves, and it was pretty great. That's all I got to say.
Storyline
about
for
that.
200,000 people to tune into and not have any idea what's going on when it hits TV.
Yeah, well, I figure by the time it hits TV,
At
they're
least
gonna
you'll know.
a win.
All right,
What if they
Cage.
never?
Yeah, Cage and Pillman. I didn't see any of this because I fell asleep.
But
Oh
it
my
didn't last
god.
long. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 5 minutes.
It was
because it was very
2:26.
short.
Poor Pillman.
Brian.
Or Brian
And that-
Pillman Jr. But I mean, honestly, I talked about it last week.
Beating
His,
him up after. Brian Cage won, and he just kept beating him up.
damn, Pillman. That's what happens to Pillman. I hope he at least lost. Oh yeah, he got beat with the screwdriver, so he lost to a real
It
finish.
says here that Pillman hit 3 moves, 2 of them being drop kicks. Pillman was hit with multiple power bombs after the match and an F5. Taz says he should probably stop him, but he decides not to. He adds that Moxley's ass is in trouble tomorrow,
Oh,
which you could. There's nothing wrong with that.
Turns out he's wrong. Yeah, Pillman Jr. doing the job to Cage makes sense. Unfortunate that's all it takes to earn a FTW title shot is to have jobbed out last week to Shawn Spears.
It's not a real title.
Well, you're right, but it's as equivalent to the fucking TNT title is to me, bro, because that's all they do is defend it against jobbers. So,
Yeah.
and that's the
And
weird
that-
thing about introducing a title like this. Like, yes, it's not a real title, but it is kind of confusing.
Like, what's the point of it?
But like,
Mhm.
especially after he
No.
lost, like he's not a badass anymore. He lost because like the guy who's supposed to be a badass threw in the towel. He's a fake badass.
That's what
Taz.
the towel has been there for the whole time, ever since the beginning of Taz's career, was to throw in
It's
the
just
towel.
like what a horrible like the Taz like the title sucks, especially with him losing now. Like, I don't know, man.
It would have been so much cooler if he'd won the title and had 2 titles, undefeated, fucking bad motherfucker, and now it's just like,
No, it's just like Masvidal. He
Sure.
has his fake title, and then he goes and gets a real title shot, and nope, he just gets his fucking feet stepped on all night long. So that's what we got here from AEW. Yeah, Dark. Obviously,
For next week.
it's not the best show ever, but it's a good spot to get introduction to characters like Pillman Jr., Diamante, a couple other people that will eventually show up on Dynamite.
Will
so,
Hobbs.
yeah, Will Hobbs. I'm interested in him. He's definitely someone
Dude,
to keep an
actually-
eye on.
I'm not even kidding. If you'd watch one match from Dark, which you're probably not going to, that match is actually worth watching.
If I were
because
gonna
there's-
watch any match from Dark, it would be Ricky Stark's match. So.
that was another good one.
Yeah.
Robert
just wanna
Anthony
see him
is
get some-
legitimately good, but I feel like he's 40, so his time's kind of past him.
Like, they've done so bad with the characters that I liked that I'm ready to give new characters a chance. Like I said, it's almost like it's very much like a TV show, bro. Where like they've almost killed off all my favorite people. Jungle Boy sucks. Joey sucks. Like So now I'm a fucking fan of some guy named Ricky Starks I've never heard of before last month. So thanks a lot,
Hey, Ricky.
AEW.
He had a cool match and he bled.
So that's all it takes to get over in Phil's eyes. Is bleed, bitch. That's cool. I'm glad that we get to see some Ricky Starks, though. That's what Dark should be for, is guys like him. I'm not so sure that Brian Cage beating Brian Pillman is the best Dark match, but whatever. That pretty much wraps everything up for this week. We're not gonna go over our. No, we will. Fuck it. Phil, go ahead. Plug your social media, brother.
Why? It's right above me.
I know, but what if they're listening on Spotify?
Exactly.
iTunes.
You can follow me on Twitter, Philip Domino, Philip PhillipDimino.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Kira_Slater.
She's related to Heath Slater.
Yeah, that's Heath Slater's sister. She's got kids. All right, AJ, go ahead.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And
Yay.
you can follow me on Twitter at AllEliteAndy. You can follow the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on Instagram at AllEliteEverything. We are on Twitter at AllElitePodcast, and we are on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. Until next week, thank you guys for tuning in.